You have an edit, Don?
Yes, I believe under the fire department, the last item, I think it's on 4 or 5. It's mentioned that needed to raise a question as to why we need a new fire department. It should be why we have a second fire department for insurance purposes, i.e. the one here in Hopkinton Village.
Okay, explain. Can you point me, is it page 4 or is it page 5?
I don't have it.
Bottom of
Right.
page 4.
All right,
Is this it, Rich? Or do you second explain the connection between the
Right.
fire station and insurance?
Yes,
premium?
yes.
What would you like it to say?
yeah,
The second fire station.
okay,
So we're changing.
so,
The fire station, it should be the fire station in Hopkinton Village. That would be specific.
explain the connection between the fire station and Hopkinton Village and insurance premiums.
Yes.
Okay,
Because often the question is, why do we need a second station?
Yep.
We need it for insurance purposes.
got it. So instead of new fire station, it's fire station Hopkinton Village, understood. Any other edits to the meeting minutes from October?
Approve with the edits.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, so we're voting to approve the meeting minutes as amended. All in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
I'll stay.
Oof, okay, that's a good point. Thank you.
Excuse
All
me.
right, so 2 abstentions.
So who moved it? I missed who moved. Steve
Steve moved,
and
Don
Don.
seconded,
Great, thank you.
and then all votes were in aye, except for Charlie
Abstains.
and Dulce, 2 abstentions. All right, with that, we will go to the town budget update.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm here to represent the select board at Budget Committee, and we are in the middle of talking to all the different departments about what they expect for next year. So we have already been able to talk to the library, the town clerk, tax collector, the finance department, the planning department, the recreation department, the human services department, and we talked about the transfer station, which is nested under the Department of Public Works, but worth talking about independently. And next week, we're going to talk about the ones that are equally as important, but more expensive, which are the rest of the DPW budget, the sewer, fire, and police. So we will be speaking with the department heads, the chiefs, and that's next week. And then the following week is, we've been meeting every Monday. We don't normally meet every Monday, but it's budget season. So we meet every Monday. And so next week will be them. And then the following week will be a budget work session where now that we've been given everybody's estimates and information, we can look at it as the whole picture. This is my first year being the select board member representing on the budget committee. So I don't exactly know what the work sessions look like, except that once we have everyone's information, we'll be able to have big numbers and dig down into little numbers and make our own changes and recommendations and take a red pen to the budgets. We did senior lunch today, which was really fun. And we told everybody there about important upcoming dates. So what's really important from the select board's perspective is that town meeting is Thursday, March 19th. It's an evening again. And that voting day for the school district and the town is Tuesday, March 10th. Dulce, when's school district meeting?
School district meeting is the Saturday before, Saturday the 14th at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then let's see. So some of you may know that the assessing clerk left her position. So that was Kara. And the position's been open for a month or something.
Almost 2.
2 months. Okay. So we've got 4 applicants and we're starting interview process, which is very exciting for us. because I think everyone's just been pinch hitting in the meantime, which we appreciate. And next week at the select board meeting, we're also going to be taking a deeper dive into the nature of the economic development coordinator position. So if anyone wants to come and chime in about that, please do. And lastly, the budget one pagers, which for you people might not know, is sort of this like executive summary page that we tried to put in front of each department's budget. They have kind of evolved into a quantitative addition to the departmental narratives in the town report. Because the town report, as you may know, each department head, they have some narratives, some paragraphs in there, but a lot of the associated data was not right there next to it. It was on these one pagers. So after our extensive conversations and a lot of sort of invocation of the townsfolk wanting to know this information, it seemed pertinent to just stick it right in the town report. So that's our new plan. And so we've categorically organized all of the notes and feedback and questions and distributed it to the department heads. And we're going to try and have coherent qualitative data to accompany their annual updates in the town report. So thank you for everybody's time on those. It's very important. And then, yeah, if there's any particular questions about the revenue and expenses here, I don't have much to highlight, but I would love to have your questions. And then if I can't answer it, I'll ask Karen.
I have two questions.
Okay.
One, you're at about 66% of your revenue. I understand there are some like rooms and meals that don't come in until the last quarter.
Mhm.
But are you anticipating actually hitting the projected revenue given the economic circumstances?
So the only one that I think we're unsure about in terms of line items is the remaining flood control reimbursement. And I don't know the details of whether or not we're expecting to recoup the rest, the other 62 or 61%. But we don't expect to get this full 222 number that was originally budgeted. Karen, do you know if we're going to get any more money?
I think we're at
That's
the
that?
80 cents and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, that 135,000 is hopefully, going to be made up. I don't know. I can't answer you directly, Steve, but I can answer you that is a hole that we know about. But I don't know whether or not we'll make up the difference.
Second question, a little more difficult, yes. And this may have been covered 2 meetings ago when I was late, but my understanding is we've recently discovered that we've been billing for our ambulance service at a third of what we've been entitled to. So for instance, last year we left $175,000 on the table. This has been going on for 10 years or so.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably something that should have been brought to the attention of the budget committee as soon as it was discovered, but maybe you could comment a little bit more on that.
Absolutely. So there's 2 towns where we have mutual aid agreements, Warner and Webster. And Karen, being new and doing her due diligence, started digging into all the numbers on her desk and realized that the numbers that we had estimated for them were under by a lot. And it's unclear. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's unclear why we estimated so under. So I think the reason why it wasn't brought to our attention, to this committee's attention, is because we're currently working with those 2 towns to try and make up the difference or find a middle ground and then properly estimate for the following year.
Well, unfortunately, I think that their position is pretty clear. There's no going back.
I mean, there's no going back from 24, 23 or anything, but we're still in 2025.
Understood, but we're 10 years into the current contract or better.
So we don't have a contract with Webster, but we do have one with Warner.
Right.
If this has been going on for 10 years, we've left $500,000 or better on the table. I understand.
I would have to, I ran back 3 years
Mhm.
and I did not look at what was left on the table necessarily. I was not trying to focus on the past. I was trying to focus on fixing it going forward.
Okay.
What was the nature of can you tell me a little bit more about like, what was the nature of the error?
I would say clerical.
Like, uh, we had it agreed upon percentage.
There is a formula.
Yeah.
Expenses and those are identified, and then revenue sources. The numbers that were plugged in there, I couldn't reconcile out with our accounting system. So I went to Kelly and I said, help me here, and we both looked at it and said, we don't know how these numbers, where they came from. So we took what we understood were to be the correct numbers, plugged them in, and were very surprised at what we ended up with.
Well, just to clarify some round numbers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we billed for roughly $85,000 for our last contract term, and we were entitled to roughly $275,000.
That was, we haven't billed yet.
Okay.
That would be Warner.
Yep.
Webster was in a similar situation. I haven't looked at these numbers in about a month, so again, it was under, I think they were estimated at around 37. They came in higher, obviously. And they have generously and offered to help close the gap. We have not heard back from Warner.
Okay, sorry, I'm still trying to catch up. So, is it like the contract says like they will pay like some person, like how is the cost, what is the formula for like the determination of what? Let me so I assume there's a formula for what it should be, and then for some reason, like let's say that was like $10. For some reason, the actual bill in the system that got to them was $5. Obviously, I made those numbers up for the
Yeah.
purpose of simplicity.
So again, it's expenses.
Yeah.
And revenue, and then there's amount to be, this has got to be this amount to be distributed between the 3 towns.
Okay.
The distribution is based on a 3-year average of calls.
Okay.
So, that works out to a percentage, and it's a percentage of that, to be billed
Okay.
number.
And just wasn't the percentage.
There
actually
was a
got to them.
clerical error in some of the numbers in both expenses and revenues, that did not line up with what the accounting system had.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? How often are the other towns billed? Is it quarterly or monthly, or how's that billed?
Webster likes to be billed once a year. Warner likes to be billed twice a year.
Is that once a year at end of year?
Yes.
So then that town just has a projection that technically should go up considerably now that they found the grammatical billing error. And then the other town presumably got a half bill that was incorrect.
Half of the estimate.
Half of
Yes.
it, and then the other half could at least be adjusted to get us on the right path for this year.
We have not adjusted that bill yet. We have not billed it. We're waiting to talk to them again.
Do you know when we usually send the bill?
I don't know when we usually send the bill, but it's generally this time of year. Webster has already received their bill. I believe they've paid it. And then they said there's an additional amount we will pay in December towards closing that gap, because we understand that, yes, it's the services we're receiving are worth the difference. The numbers are correct.
Can I ask another follow-up?
Please.
If you're basing their bills, it was off of calls, correct? Not off of that formula. So the 3-year calls would be consistent. It wasn't off of the billing. Sorry, I was thinking it was based off of an average of the billing, but it's not an average of the billing.
The calls were slightly off as well, not as dramatic. So
favorably to the other towns or Hopefully to hop.
up and down. I mean, I'd say it was probably a wash in the end.
Was this strictly ambulance calls or was it fire calls?
No, it's ambulance. Fire is mutual aid if we have to help them out. That's a totally different arrangement.
Okay.
How did you figure out that the calls were off? Like, is there some other source of truth of the data?
I
Like-
went back to the fire chief and
Okay.
said, here's what I found.
Yeah.
Can you double check this for me? And he said, no, those calls were not, off by 10, 15, 20, up or down.
Yeah.
Not dramatic, but
Thank you for finding it. That's huge.
Can you find more?
So she's doing a lot of auditing. We're doing all the electric bills, all the telephone, internet, and TV cable provider services. She's even the copy machines, right? We're trying to get a handle on the many different services and contracts and disparate services and contracts in the hopes of finding cost savings or collapsing into less moving pieces. We appreciate.
So- other areas we're looking at based on Monday night's meeting, solid waste. And probably not till next year, IT providers. And I mean, I don't have a good handle on the IT, so this is my way of getting into it.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the solid waste contract.
Yeah.
So we've had an ongoing contract with Waste Management to take the refuse from the transfer station away. And the contract is up, and there are maybe 2 other providers that we're going to ask if they would be willing to estimate for us. But we know moving forward that if we are to go forward with Waste Management, that it's going to be a pretty significant uptick, like 20%. And it seems like maybe we were benefiting from a discount prior. So this is actually more of a realistic figure. But it's going to be, $94 a ton going up to anywhere from, what did you say?
I think it was 97.79.
Yeah.
And we have 3 different options. One is a 5-year, there's this whole thing about the trailers too. If we go with option 1, which is somebody supplying trailers, they're bigger trailers, supposedly they won't need to be as emptied as often. That I don't have it in front of me. I don't want to, it's one price. Slightly more is if we continue to use our own trailers, that's more trips to town for them because it's not as big a trailer. And then we asked and those are both 5-year contracts. We asked for a price on a 1-year contract, thinking we might want to buy some time to really look at how we do this. So I think the board is looking for some numbers. Maybe hopefully we can get the Waste Management folks to sharpen their pencil as well and see where we're at.
Yeah, but they don't want to use our trailers. So if we end up going with Waste Management and using their trailers, then we're gonna try and sell
We'll try to sell the other
our
fairly new
trailers.
trailers. Had we known this a year or 2 ago, we wouldn't have gone in that direction.
Right, because one of them's pretty new.
And Vicky, didn't that also include removing some funding for said replacement of third trailer that's in the CIP?
That's right.
And I thought Dan also spoke as a potential alternative option, which I know we're extremely pressed on time here, but subcontracting out a independent hauler altogether that would haul our trailers to wherever the dumping station is as an independent contractor, not using the other trailers. And he said that Mr. Steve Plow back in his era had done that for a period of time and it saved the town some money. So, but I know that takes some coordination to put
It does.
a contract together, even for a year or whatnot. And I don't know if that's still on the table, but it's part of the discussion Monday on that, if I'm
Yeah.
saying it correct.
And Lauren's right. In the CIP for next year, there's technically a placeholder of $116,000 expenditure on a trailer. So if we end up going the route of using someone else's trailers, then that will not need to be spent.
Can you please explain why they prefer to use their own trailers?
They're bigger, so fewer trips. So they,
I believe, I
Yes.
can
Yeah.
jump in. There was two parts to
Yeah.
that, slightly bigger is what Dan Blanchett said, and it really only saves the trucking company about 3 trips over the course of the year, I believe was what he said. However, our trailers are equipped with juice, which I'm assuming is a hydraulic system that's maybe older, and the trucks that come don't have that equipment, and they're
Oh,
changing out their trucks, and they don't have the retrofitted connections for our trailers. So it doesn't do them any good to use our trailers that we just invested in. However, there may be another outfit that can hook up to these and go. And that's where having an independent hauler, at least in the interim until we find the best deal, might be an option, but time's limited.
so you're saying we have a different wet system?
I believe that he's called it juice, I think, or maybe, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's what you call them, wet trailers.
yep.
Good.
Changing topics, is there any update on the landfill preparation for receiving the sludge from Maple Street?
I think right now, what Dan said, I mean, so we've got sewer coming in next week, but what Dan had said this Monday was that the next thing is to estimate the volume of the sewage to be dredged, but then it'll be dewatered before it gets put into the pit or whatever we're gonna call it. And so that's as far as we've gotten. And also that the construction for he wants us to call them cesspools now, right? The
Cesspools
Pool
at the transfer station.
remediation. That was supposed to start this year and go into 2026, but we're still trying to finish the plans, if I'm not mistaken.
We're
So
trying to get 2 engineering firms to talk to one another to, hammer out the details of transferring this and what needs to be in place and timing and all that kind of good stuff.
yes.
So, yeah.
And so we've got 2 select boards and 2 engineering firms working on this project. And Webster was here on Monday at our meeting. Their select board came here and they brought up a couple really good points about the project, including if we're putting our own sewage into this pit and it needs to be larger by a proportion, that they'd rather not pay for that portion, which makes a lot of good sense. And so we've got a lot of moving parts, but at the moment, I think, yeah, David is going to tell Dan his estimate for the volume of what is to come out of the lagoons, which now, according to Dan, because I'm just trying to follow Dan's, like the contingency fund, we're just like changing the language here. So the lagoons are actually this wastewater treatment plant now, and the cesspools are the old septic facility that just needs cleaning up from,
So summation's been postponed about a year.
yeah, feels like.
I think we're planning on starting in the spring, so I think they were maybe hoping this fall, but I think it'll be a spring thing.
Thank you.
Speaking of starting, I recall that we had finally funded the bathrooms at the middle high school park.
Hmm.
Does that have a start estimate date?
I have to ask Karen.
Springtime.
Springtime?
Yeah.
On track to happen?
Well, last I know, we were still waiting for some plans from an architect who was doing some pro bono work for us.
Mhm.
Dan met with him there a week or so ago. I think they're finalizing their plan, and then the plan is to go forward next summer.
We can ask more about that at Monday's
Monday.
meeting when we have our DPW update.
Eagerly awaited.
Absolutely.
Was there any settlement with Webster, circling back on cesspools on the term of the loan?
So I think we're supposed to talk about it on Monday and see whether or not we're comfortable trying to pay it off in 10 years. And if we are, asking DES to confirm that timeline. I think that's how we landed on it, was that there's a lot, we're gonna be here until midnight on Monday. But
On the couch earlier, right?
yeah, I'm so tired. But just to fill everyone in case you aren't aware of what the context of this question is about, Webster shares the transfer station with us and the cost of the transfer station. And now we have this big cleanup project that we all approved a loan of $4.015 million for at town meeting last year. And Webster would much prefer to pay it off in 10 years because it's much less interest. But proportionally, our year over year cost is going to be 75% of it. And so the select board on Monday is going to talk about whether or not we're comfortable agreeing to shift to a 10-year plan, so 20-year plan, which would save interest, but would also make the 10 years worth of payments significantly higher. And I think, I don't want to speak for anybody, but happy to dig into the 10-year plan and sort of understand exactly where Webster's coming from, because the difference in interest is approximately $750,000 between the 10-year plan and the 20-year
For them or
plan.
for us or in
Total.
total?
Yeah. So we would be responsible for $750,000 of that $750,000.
So you're saying, so you'd rather take the 10 years, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that I'm happy to discuss it. And if anyone here has any thoughts on the issue or but it's like a 2% interest rate for the 10-year and a 3 something interest rate for the
3.072.
Say it again.
3.072.
May I add to that?
Yeah, please go
I
ahead.
believe in part of that conversation, long conversation as it was, the way the bond was proposed at the annual town meeting was that it was going to be over 20 years. And then that's what the select board ended up signing off on. So they already signed off on the 20-year with, is it the Department of Environmental Services?
Yep, we would have.
Contract's been signed. And
Yeah, we would have to
Webster was
hold it.
like, well, hey, we wanted to be part of this. And there was a lack of communication. So it's there's some more unraveling there. And then I guess to touch back on the lagoon septage, how that transpired is when the Warren articles were written, it said that by removing the sledge from the lagoons, it could save the town of Hopkinton up to $1 million. And so that's why Webster was thinking, well, if you're going to save $1 million, we shouldn't be paying for your $1 million. However, Dan said when that is turned in, dried out, or however they process it and deposit into the depository that we're creating, it's not that much more volume. So that percentage probably won't save Webster $1 million. So maybe, there may be room for even more capacity that we're not using. I don't know the dynamics, but it sounded like it wasn't a huge cost savings in the depository part. It was more so trucking that all the way to Canada is where we would have been paying up. So there was unclearness there, if I'm paraphrasing that, how I understood it.
And I think they're funded, I think those two projects are funded separately.
They are.
Yeah. And we did go back and look at the Warren article language from town meeting regarding the $4 million loan from the Clean Water Revolving Fund. And the Warren article language did not specify a loan term. However, the spreadsheet that was put up on the screen showed the 20-year amortization schedule, not the 10-year. When the joint select boards were given the information, they were given both. And then by the time it was brought to town meeting, I was not here, Karen was not here, but only the 20-year was put up on the screen for everybody.
I think it was on the paper handouts as well.
So this is now reopened for debate?
It's certainly reopened for debate. I don't know whether or not we're even allowed to change with the Department of Environmental Services, but
What is when you said $750,000, is that the difference between the
the
rate
difference
and
in
the 10
interest.
the total interest paid, or the rate offered on the 10-year versus the 20?
So if you, I'm not sure the difference of what you're asking, but what I was told is that if we were to pursue the current 20-year payment plan with the principal being unchanged, in the end, the amount of interest we would pay is $750,000 more than
But is that because the rate on the 10 years is different, or is it the same?
Two
The-
different rates,
two
What are
different
the two
rates.
something around 2% for the 10-year and
Yeah.
3.072 for the 20-year.
Got it. So I'm very curious on where the $750,000 came from, $750,000 came from, because like paying more interest to have it outstanding longer may make complete sense. Like that's a trade we might and probably should make, but the interest rate delta is another thing. So as you like evaluate it, just make sure you sort those two things out.
Yeah, I mean, can I send you the PDFs?
Charlie, I think someone asked the other night too if earlier payments could be made. So if Webster wanted to make a double payment or a payment and a half or whatever to get to their 10, that could be done. But I don't know how that affects what our payoff would be. So it's possible, and if the interest rate moves,
Are you
to
asking-
create them saving, to create what, if Webster wanted to follow through with their 10% or 10-year payoff, they could pay early payments, but I don't know if that affects principal and brings their portion down. But it was allowed where some bonds that are taken out, I guess you can't make
I think it's-
repayments.
Yeah, it's typically you wouldn't be allowed to do that because if you're an investor, you don't want people paying you back earlier. That's not the math you did on that.
I believe there was another discussion about that when this program went to close down these lagoons, that there's other towns that are being forced, and if Department of and the environmental, thank you, gets their funding back, they may be able to loan more money out to cure these other problems in other town. That was another part of the conversation, but I don't know if that rate's set for those guys to particularly make money. It's just a
Right, yeah,
cost of
so
borrowing it.
Stephen pulled up the contract and there is no prepayment penalty because it's just a loan through the Clean Water Revolving Fund.
That's the entire amount though?
What?
The 4 million.
The 4 million is entirely the loan from DES?
Yeah.
Ah.
The other septic bond, which was that's at the wastewater treatment plant. And that's currently still literally under the water. That's a bond. But that's,
So I take it back. I was forgetting that was two separate things.
yeah, so we don't have a prepayment penalty. At least that's what we surmised when we were here on Monday.
So the question is, does this throw the whole thing out the window if we go back and say, can we do 10 years instead?
Yeah, we have no idea. I mean, basically what we came to is if the Hopkinton Select Board decides it's worth pursuing 10 years instead of 20, then Karen needs to call DES and ask if that's allowed. Yeah, basically the town administrators and the attorneys would need to even like figure it out if that's possible.
And the agreement with that governor and council signed too.
Yeah, exactly. The executive council has approved it at the 20-year mark. But Webster was not pleased with that because they had strongly advocated for the 10-year.
And why I was curious is if Webster, because they say no, 20 years is what you signed up for and that's what you keep. And Webster figured out a repayment schedule that worked over the course of 10 years. There was a potential saving over 20 years of it being 750,000 different. Would that then chip down their percentage by prepaying to principal, I don't know, but that's what I was curious. We may be able to stick with the 20. Webster just does a different payment plan, just like, I guess, two parents paying off a mortgage or whatever. Maybe one parent makes two payment. Do you know what I'm saying? And it may result in a similar interest or full principal or the amount on the interest being the same if it was structured. It's funky, but it might work.
The only thing I'm quibbling with is I don't think it's really $750,000 of savings. Like that might be literally the amount of interest that you don't pay. But that's not how the town should be thinking about money 20 years.
Mhm, mhm,
Does that make sense? Because like there's a time value of that money that's different.
mhm.
In other words, like I wouldn't necessarily just default. I don't know why they're doing that, but I wouldn't necessarily just default to the 10 because
Yeah.
of the lower rates.
Yeah.
Without doing that math, I don't know what the.
Right, right, and we're gonna start repaying as soon as, I mean, we've got a 1% interest rate during construction, and then we
Construction.
need to start
2 years roughly.
paying, the principal. So we do have a little bit of time to figure this out, because we haven't started construction yet.
It's also, I mean, to kind of Charlie's point, like Webster has probably like a little bit different mathematics than we do on like the opportunity cost of not having that, whatever per year money we would be saving, not paying. If we did the 20 versus the 10-year, like we could put that towards like fixing another road or something for those 10, like extra 10 years, which like in our Hopkinton's budgetary environment, like that might be ultimately worth more to us than like the savings on the interest.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone's offering us really cheap money, basically, for a long time.
Mhm. Well, I mean, you guys could probably anticipate what I'm gonna say, but please come on Monday. Because I'm not a financier and I don't work for a multinational corporation, and I would love to have your expertise at the meeting.
Any other questions for Vicky on any other topics?
One question is not exactly budget related, but a resident did ask me to ask. The person that runs our food pantry out of the Slessor Center, is that a volunteer position or do we fund that through our health and welfare department?
So as far as I understand, and please fill in the gaps of my understanding, the food pantry used to be a nonprofit, and it somewhat, I don't even know what the right verb is, fizzled. And in order to make sure there was not a gap in service, Lisette, our paid human services director, has been doing administrative work. The people who process the donations to families are volunteers.
And
Is
they're
that
still
right?
in-
And Alyssa has offered to help spin up the nonprofit again, or a similar entity. But at the moment, Lisette is administering it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you please update us on the status of the solar panels at the transfer station?
I don't have any information on that. Do you? What is, can you ask a more specific question?
Yeah, we had a company reserve that land to build a solar farm on our in the vicinity of our old landfill.
Yes.
And
And they were paying us.
paying us
Yes.
to keep that open. I think that's what been going on for more than 5 years now. So there was a time limit that was going to run out for how many years that we were going to allow them to hold it.
I think we got paid this year. I think I remember it coming in. I don't know where it would fall into there.
I will get that information and bring it to the next meeting.
Thank you.
I'll go with the caps.
I think it was like $30,000 to extend that hold pattern, but the same problem remains that they don't have the
Grid connection.
infrastructure to receive the solar array that's proposed to go there. So if it can't feed back on the poles, it doesn't make any sense to build it. So I don't know how you jumpstart Eversource to like, can you?
Make the grid stronger there.
Right, so, well, I want to say that does end this year and
The option to,
their extended contract.
I think it was 5 years, then they got an extra year or two.
So we would be down some revenue there.
I will get back to you. And thank you, Bryce. Bryce just reminded me that we also have this other fun issue, which is that on the rainstorm of June 7th that destroyed a lot, including parts of Pine Street, the cap on the old landfill cracked and slid. It didn't get totally destroyed, but it's in need of repair, and there's a drainage system in it that was not designed to handle the rainstorms that we now have. Because it's umpteen decades old, when it was capped. And Dan Blanchett said the drainage system was designed for maybe like a 2-inch rainstorm. I don't honestly know exactly what that means, like in terms of how much time that is, but he kept calling the one we had in June a 6-inch rainstorm. And so it slid. I can't remember how much he said. He said it's like there's like a gap of a foot and a length of 30 feet that slid. And so we are not only going to have to fix it, but we're going to have to augment the drainage.
Is it like actively polluting anything? Like, is there like we need to do this fast before something else bad happens?
I have no idea.
So basically what happened is the soil, the landfill is capped with some
Yeah.
material over it, and then there's dirt and,
Yeah.
grass and everything on top. The water couldn't, it got stuck at the layer. of-
Impermeable.
Yeah, impermeable, and separated, and it actually separated. That was the big one. There's a couple of other smaller ones too. So, and it just kind of slid.
So
So
the
it's not-
earth
It's
slid.
the earth that slid. Nothing was punctured.
Okay,
It just kind of slipped.
okay,
That's good news if it didn't puncture the
Yeah.
membrane.
Yeah.
great. I guess the point, the gist I was getting to is like, it's not like if we wait a year, this is gonna result in a multi-million-dollar cleanup effort that we have to do because we,
Right.
okay.
As far as I understand, yeah, we need to replace or change I don't even know how I don't want to put words in Dan's mouth, but we have to fix it. But before we fix it, we have to make the drainage better so that it doesn't happen in the future,
So
because now we have these storms.
it's not just Eversource.
Well,
Yeah.
Eversource wasn't gonna put it on the landfill cap. I think they're gonna put it on the ground.
Correct.
So hopefully that's some modifications to what failed, not a complete rebuild or anything.
Right.
Hopefully.
All right, any other questions, comments for Vicky? All right, then I'm gonna do what I should have done probably at the start, which is to say, let me introduce the budget committee since we have some new faces here. Sorry for that. My name is Krista Skur. I'm the chair of the committee. Steve here is my vice chair. The budget committee, as you can see, actually we're fully represented tonight. Dulcie is a stand-in for Rob, but we are 6 members at large. That means like we're actively voted on by the community for the seats, which are 3-year terms, and 4 members, which are representatives from one of the governing body entities, meaning the Conchita Village Precinct, the Hopkinton Village Precinct, the school board, or the town. And so those members are not voted on by the community, but they're sent by the governing body to participate. They're voted on for their respective committees, obviously, but what is the role of the committee? This is an oft debated topic, but the gist of it is the budget committee is responsible for sort of the bottom line budgets for the town. So I think of us as sort of like an oversight body in a way. We do not like make hiring or firing decisions, or we do not like send out the ambulance. We don't say that there should be um, what should be taught in the schools per se. We don't make policy, but we do analyze the budgets. So fall is our budget season, fall and winter. All of the different entities, the school board, the town, the precincts, do their respective budgets with their departmental heads, the principals, whatever it is respectively. And then those budgets are presented to the committee through from like December and January. We get to ask questions. So that's like one of our big roles is like asking questions about the budget. In doing so, we kind of seek to understand like what are we spending money on. So to Vicky's point about the one pagers for the town, like a recurring theme from this committee for a couple years since I've been here is how do we talk to taxpayers about the value that we're getting as a town for the tax money we spend? So like what would it mean for example to like road plowing services if we cut the town budget, so to speak? Like those are questions. Dawn talks about this a lot of like how like how does the money that taxpayers are paying in taxes to the town result in value to someone who lives in the town? And are those the right decisions for the town? So for us, like we want to be educated on that. And that helps us like look at the budgets and helps us talk to taxpayers about how we can think about the budget in terms of tax sustainability. What is tax sustainability? That just means like how easy or hard is it for different members of the community to live in town? If you read the Concord Monitor ever, you will see that this is a hotly debated topic in Hopkinton. I don't think that is a controversial statement to make. So the budget committee, like I think we take our roles pretty seriously in that regard. The school brings their budget in. We look at that as well. A few years ago, for example, like we talked to the school about class size policy. So that was like something that the budget committee and the school board worked on. Well, the school board worked on it, but I think it was a result of some conversations with the budget committee. So yeah, does anybody have any questions around like what the budget committee does? Happy to answer that.
Can I just add something? I think what's neat about this is that this is the only place where the school board and the select board and the Kentucky Village Precinct, the Hopkinton Village Precinct are all in one place, looking at all the numbers together. The school board, they have to do their job and they've got their statistics and their wants and needs. And then the town, we have the same. This is where all the numbers get added up for totals.
Yes, that's a good point. Because when you get your tax bill, you don't really like think, well, you may if you like come to the meetings and attend, but you get like kind of a number, right? But that number is a representation of the different governing bodies and their effect on taxes. So this is like where I think like our true goal is to think about like what the impact of all four of those things are together. Yeah. It's pretty cool. We meet once a month. You should turn 18 and run for
That's a stretch.
the budget committee. All right. Yeah,
That was
okay,
good.
cool. Kentucky Village Precinct financial update.
All right, I'm negligent in not having an update, just wasn't able to get it. I do have the fact that the bills have finally gone out for the second half of the year for the water consumption. A major concern of mine, I haven't flushed this out with the rest of the people at the precinct, but we had budgeted for $275,000 to come in from the warrants, and we got paid 106 in the first half, and the second half is 107. So that leaves us with about $62,000 deficit from what we budgeted. Now that'll be settled out by the Department of Revenue, and that'll obviously, I think, relate in more of a tax increase than we had forecasted for. Money has to be, caught up somehow. But those are just my thoughts. I haven't run this by anybody else other than just getting that number. But it is a concern. At least we, of the 120 customers that were basically meters weren't read. I think about 85 of those have been solved. And there was an estimate on the other ones that haven't been, but working with the town clerk, she estimated those and got the bills out. And it relates hopefully to help the sewer billing also, because it's all based off that. We still got a long ways to go, but we're making steps forward in the right direction.
Thanks, Tom.
Any questions on that one?
Sorry, I hate to
Karen,
put so
you wanna
many
add
teaching
anything to that?
moments, but I think this is interesting. We don't measure how much sewage goes out of your house. We just measure how much water goes in, and we estimate that approximately that much goes out in sewage.
There's also like all these interesting things that being a town that's been around for a while, we like discover like a bunch of the water meters were not able to be read. That was the thing we learned. Lots of the pipes are really old, and there was actually like no map, I think, right, of like where the pipes were. So when you had the federal government come and say you can't have lead in your pipes, like that's a real problem if you don't know where the pipes are. So lots of like interesting challenges come up.
We sort of know where the pipes are, but we don't know what they're made of.
Yeah. And the only way to know is to dig in the earth and scrape it. There's no other way. I learned that.
In Kentucky, that's 600 customers that have to have a little hole dug up beside the road and go down 4.5 feet and actually scrape the pipe and look at it. And that's quite expensive. A Hopkinton Village precinct, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do.
They're just talking about it.
We have our own situation with, there's a lot of shut off valves that are buried and unknown where they're at. So I think we're gonna have to probably deal with that.
Don't you just count the faucets and figure that out?
Well, I have a feeling if a lot of the houses in town needed to have the water shut off at the road, that would be a problem.
Yes.
You'd be digging up a lot of land to try and find.
Digging up a lot of freshly paved roads.
Yes, freshly paved.
Have we found any wood pipes?
Pardon?
Have we found any wood pipes?
Wood.
Get back,
Maybe at your house, but not anywhere else.
get back quite that far?
Correct.
Those oddly were used for gas originally.
It's hard to believe that big pipe over in Wilmington, Vermont, that comes off the hill is 10 feet in diameter, that's all wood and still wood. The black snake, as they call it, I think.
All right. Any other questions for Dawn? Okay. Hopkinton Village Precinct update. Over to
All
you.
right, unlike last time, I actually have a couple of things that I can present to the committee. We're going to be looking at actually repairing the old firehouse, the one on this side of the Main Street. We're going to be bringing in someone to give us an idea of how much that's going to cost before we decide how much of that we're going to do. We're also looking at, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but the old fire truck is in there. It's called the Fire King. It's in that same building, and we're looking at getting it insured, which is a lot harder than you would think because of its age. In order to get it insured, we have to get it appraised, and that's the challenge, is getting it appraised. So we're working on that as well. Our treasurer had changed our electric supplier to be a cheaper solution, and that's kind of flipped now. So she has changed us back to Eversource from, I'm not sure who we were using. She says that's going to take 2 or 3 billing cycles before that hits. So we're trying to bring back or save a little bit more money on the electricity by doing that. The treasurer also gave me the estimated budget for 2026. Really no marked changes on there other than the cost of electricity. I think she budgeted for an extra $2,000 over what she budgeted last year. And that's it.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Matt?
Are you guys trying to do some preservation to the firehouse or restoration, or what is the scope of that
So,
project?
We're looking at doing, we just had the roof repaired, okay?
Mhm.
But we want to start repairing the inside as well. there's a whole space that could be used for meetings and whatnot above the space where the fire engine was or is, that we're looking to probably make it habitable for us to have our meetings there. Right now, we meet here on the second or third Thursdays of every month. We'd love to be able to meet over in the old firehouse, but it could probably be used for other things as well. So I was in there 2 years ago, and the ceilings in that second story are not really intact. So there's probably a bunch of work that might need to be done in there.
So how are you looking to appropriate that? And grants and stuff?
Uh,
7 this day or something like that?
Basically, right now, we're looking at that coming out of the main or the general maintenance budget that we've already got in the budget. But would have to explore probably fundraisers, those kinds of things to be able to fund that. But until we find out how much it would cost us to do the work that we'd like to do, we haven't moved forward with fundraisers or anything like that.
And the order of operations was fix the roof first.
Yes, which we did last year, right? And then we
Yeah.
finished paying for it. We paid it in 2 installments. We finished paying for it this year.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Has
you.
the select board gotten feedback on the co-op outside of what Matt was just saying? I don't, or on.
Of community power.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Is that indicative of what a lot of people have experienced?
I think so. I think it's all the users, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a right community powers. I don't want to misspeak, so please pipe up if I'm wrong, but pretty sure the community power is a sort of a group buying.
It is, but my point is like, it hasn't materialized into the savings that were anticipated.
So it did, and now it's flipped, and I don't understand the reason why it has flipped, but the treasurer of Hopkinton Village Precinct deemed it necessary to switch back to Eversource in order to make sure that we're being cautious with the tax dollars.
But if the select board gotten other complaints about that from other people in town?
I haven't. I don't know though. I mean,
I haven't.
it hasn't come to my attention beyond
That's
getting
interesting.
updates on community power.
I guess you would have to know what the Eversource rate was to like see that.
It's definitely different. The community power rate's higher currently, and my understanding was they had hopes to secure their fuels and those contracts didn't go through. And so they had to buy at whatever price per kilowatt to cover, and it ended up higher than where Eversource is and Unitil, I believe. So it's currently higher, but the gentleman from Webster actually spoke a little bit to the community power on Monday at the select board meeting. But so when Eversource is up for their next rate change, so won't community power be, and it could go flat with them, or it could go stay up. It's hard. It's its own thing. But I don't know if that's really the select board's deal. They just supported it happening, and then it's kind of its own entity, I believe. So I don't know if complaining to the select board's the right avenue if you have a gripe about community power. I'm just saying,
I'm just
and that may justify why they haven't heard a complaint.
Yeah, the Webster Select Board was here on Monday and we were all done. And then he said, I probably shouldn't mention this, but I'm your representative to community power. So do you have any questions? And he said that, yes, the rate, the next wave of rate setting, I think he said would be
It's February. It takes effect
February.
in February.
So I think the idea is that theoretically every cycle we could oscillate to find the cheapest rate, but you're right, it's going to take several billing cycles and it's an administrative task to do so.
I just want it to be successful, so.
Well, all right. Any other questions on Hopkinton Village or related? Perfect. All right, Dulcie, over to you.
Okay, all right. So everyone should have in the folder the September financials. Laura, as you guys know, has started as our BA. She's working on, I think making these her own. So you can see that there is a balance sheet one pager at the end of the packet in case you're not fully up to speed on balance sheets, if you want to look at that. A few notes. We don't have a prediction of year-end fund balance yet because this was September, and our financial year had just started. We do have new out-of-district placements too. They'll basically spend out the current year balance for our special education. That's something we talked about last year as part of our budget cycle. Special education placements and costs continue to go up. It's something we talk about frequently and monitor frequently because those are big budget drivers.
Can I just interrupt you there quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
So, is it, how front-loaded is information about the placements? Meaning, like, we're in November, school just started.
Yep.
We ate through our line items. Like, how likely is it
it's-
that this happens at the start of the school year versus like, because I think some of the changes last year happened at the end. So could we be sitting here in like April being like, we had 2 more and now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah, and some of this could be encumbered and it's just some of it can be billed, but any child can move into this district at any time, at
Right.
which point we become liable for their education.
Okay,
So-
and so right now we know the expense line item is,
Neutral.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
Yep. Yep. Good question. But yeah, that is a dynamic thing. It's why we talked last year about the
Right.
special education trust so that we could try to figure out if there are higher cost education students that move into the district, if there is a way for us to offset some of that year to year variability. It's something we'll be talking about again this year. Yeah, okay. So any questions? And then the only other thing is that food service revenue is trending in line. Food service is also something that we're talking about. Our numbers have generally been down, and at the very end of the year, we looked at a food service like a cost per meal adjustment because we are losing money on every single meal that we serve. Part of food service is trying to make sure that we can provide food to children at a cost that their families can afford it. And so you don't want to double the cost just because groceries have doubled. That's something we're monitoring carefully. So we will continue to talk about food service as a school board. Any questions about the financials? Oh, I have more to talk about. We can always come back to them. Okay. Something that is a notice that will impact the tax rate this year is hopefully everyone here has heard about the Conval lawsuit, wherein the Kentucky Valley School District were entered litigation to basically sue the state to say that you are not providing the cost of an adequate education. That went to the Supreme Court and Conval won. So the Supreme Court said you are not providing an adequate cost. The current base adequacy aid is $4,100 per pupil. The Supreme Court said that it should be at least $7,356.01 per pupil. They did not say how that should happen. So that will be lingering through the court as a mechanism for years. However, the state also dictated that the state has to reimburse for attorney's fee. And so Conval was reimbursed in all of the participating districts. So Conval got $666,000. Hopkinton is receiving $19,690.67. And we talked about that at our last meeting. And we will be returning that to the taxpayers. So we are working to set the tax rate at our next meeting, or set the tax rate. Yeah, the school district's tax rate. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. But that will just go straight back to taxpayers. Any questions about that?
Is a reimbursement of 92,000 guaranteed? Because the state has always just said, we're not going to abide by what the court says.
Yeah.
And they haven't changed anything.
Yeah, so it's worth noting that the reimbursement of 19,000 is guaranteed. The adequacy of going from $4,100 to $7,300, that's a big TBD. It would be meaningful. Like if you run that out across the per student load that we have population, it's like $3 million, so it'd be deeply meaningful for Hopkinton. I do not think that we should be counting. We certainly cannot count on it for this year. Maybe next year, high hopes, low expectations.
Thank you.
Not to be overly drawl.
How
don't-
much would that mean for the state at large? Do you know? Like, what would the state need to find to do that?
A lot, and I think I mean, a lot, it could come from swept, but that
Yeah.
comes from local taxation anyways,
Right.
so like. Who could say, right, but this is why it will be working through the mechanism of figuring out how to do this for quite some time.
So if it came out of swept, our taxes would probably go up in a commensurate fashion to pay the difference.
I couldn't say for sure, but I could imagine that's where that would be the case. But one would hope, I think the goal would be to figure out how to alleviate the tax rate here in Hopkinton, but I can't promise that. So. All right. And before I get to the budget process, so I think there was also in the folder, we had sent through Rich, for you, a fuel performance comparison, looking at all of last year's fuel data. Did you get that?
Was it sent? Where was it sent?
No, I think that Laura sent it last.
It's what it is.
Laura sent
Sent it to me personally or?
No, to the.
Yeah, but we can add it, but basically last year, and we did this just as part of the Energy Management Committee for the school board. And if it's not in there, I can distribute it to everyone, or Karen can. But looking at all of our different fuel types across all three of our buildings, looking at electricity, number 2, oil, propane, and pellets, and looking at what our usage was. And I'm pretty happy to say that for electricity, we were down between 20 and 44% per school, which is amazing. For oil, we're down, between 17 and 63% per school. We did see an increase at Harold Martin for propane because we're shifting that fuel source. And we did see an increase in pellets at Maple Street just because of efficient usage of that pellet burner. But Jim has done a lot of controls work, our facilities director, to look at usage and be tracking it really carefully so that we're able to adequately report out on it. But if you take a look at it, I'm happy to talk through it.
What was the timeline on the reduction of
That was year over year.
Whoa.
Yeah. And we have information going back to 2023, but we put everything into a software called Performance Manager, so we can look at all of our annualized and quarterly utility data. That's great. Last question before we get to budget. Bryce, you asked about the wonderful number of pre-K students that we have at HISA soccer in the fall and what that means for kindergarten. Each year we calculate projected kindergarten using a combination of what we call NESDEC, which is New England School Development Council enrollment projections, and our own historical trend data. The NESDEC model does look at birth data, local housing trends, and student migration patterns to figure out what the income and class sizes are. And we also look at cohort averages, early registration numbers, and any known information about housing that could affect enrollment, right, if the new development's going up. This combined approach has historically been quite accurate. We did just get our NESDEC projections, I think Monday, and it has kindergarten at 75 students next year. Based off of our own historical data, we think that's on the high side, and we think it's likely we'll have 65 to 68. But that is what we're projecting as of right now. Okay. Thank you for asking.
Can I chime in on just something with the fuel, because you just were speaking about fuel. My understanding is in the past, the town and the school has shared fuel costs, and at Maple Street School, they just converted from oil tanks in the ground to propane. And I'm wondering if that has any adverse effect on the bulk purchase for the town or whoever's putting that together, if they're aware that the oil volume is likely to change because Harold Martin's no longer burning oil, they're burning propane now.
At Maple Street, I think, I think we keep, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if we keep something as backup, but I think that's something that Laura thinks about pretty carefully. Yeah, so if it hasn't been, but I think a contract would have been entered in. Those usually get negotiated several months ago, and Laura and Jim would have been, I think, pretty. There's two sets of humans who I think are probably pretty keyed into projections on that. I feel good about it, but I'll ask about it, Laura, and that's a good question.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure the left hand's talking the right hand because
Yeah.
historically there was X amount of oil
Yep.
being purchased per year. And if we
Yeah.
somehow slide under and you're anticipating a discount at, I don't know where that number is, and it doesn't hit it because they aren't filling up huge fuel tanks, then
Mhm.
that could be a surprise that
Yeah.
should be noted.
Thank you. All right, are we ready to talk about the budget? All right, so we have had 3 budget sessions to date. We talked about the operational budget, which I think Rob may have presented about. And then last week we talked through staffing and benefits. Right now, all in, not including revenue, which will come out at our first meeting in December, we are at a 5.06% increase. That includes contractual obligations, health insurance, and then some increases across the board, including to things like special ed. There are several presentations that if you go to the school district's website, you can look at our current budget year information. Amy and Laura, I think, have done a really nice job of presenting out and providing the presentation and the sheets of what the changes are and where we're seeing increases, our recommended increases. And we haven't started negotiating, but right now we're at 5.06. And we'll be looking forward to revenue. So.
Is that just on the operating budget, the 506, not warrants?
That's not warrants. That does not include any trusts. Yep. We have not gotten there yet.
And that's on the tax rate or the like the operating budget?
That's the actual
nominal?
operating, that's the actual like budget year over year amount. Yep. Mhm.
And that is contracted wages,
Yep.
healthcare, contracted health and benefits increases,
Yep.
and
And then the operational driver, then the operational budgets for SAUs, special education facilities, athletics, curriculum, technology, and then each individual school.
okay.
Yeah.
Is it correct to assume that most of that is coming from contractual increases?
Yes.
Like last year, the numbers for the what I think is like non-contractual operational budgets to run the schools was like fairly minimal.
Yeah, so the schools, and if you, there's a presentation that's in there, but basically the schools have like a, due to some line item changes, so it's not like a net change, but a $26,000 increase. The total difference across all of the operational budgets is 609,000, of which 287 is special ed. Two new
Can you say that again?
residential,
200,000?
287, yeah.
Thank you.
Is that like assuming that these 2 students that just received out of placement? Like that basically is assuming that they will remain out of placement, out of district for next year? Is that like where the 280,000?
That's assuming that they will resume out of placement. It is worth noting that with any students that are out of placement, we do, like, the hope as a district is that we will bring them back, both for the student and for a cost basis, so we can educate them, but that would be assuming that, yeah.
Okay.
In terms of salaries, we've got a $659,000 increase across our FTEs and $142,000 benefit increase. 659 in salaries and 142 in benefits. It's also worth noting, and I think Rob also talked about this, but we're not part of the school cares debacle. We use Health Trust, and so we are insured. We do not have a crazy health insurance deficit that's going to get added onto our tax rate, or that we're not going to be operating as a deficit as a school district. So that feels pretty good. Yeah, so 5.06 is the total, not including revenue.
Can you remind me what contracts are per negotiation, if any, this year?
None.
Okay.
You're in a contract per year.
Okay, and then next year it should be like one of them, we're on like.
Next
these
year it
days
should be one.
aggregate.
Yeah, so we should be moving into a 1 a year after this, and it will be what we just did, yeah, but it will basically start rotating through. Yeah.
Say once again for me, please. The 506 is the increase in the dollar amount of the fixed of the operating budget.
5.06, yeah, so we're going from a 27,985,752 approved in FY 26. Again, not including any revenue, that's like the actual just top
Yeah, yeah.
line. And then our proposed for this year is 29,400,542.36.
With the caveat that Dulcie is providing this preliminarily
Mhm.
and obviously
Yeah.
subject to change.
Yep.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
The whole number changes and got the revenue to it.
Yeah, right, so, but it's, we're, I think that everyone worked really hard this year and, with Amy and Laura, and they went through line by line with every single budget item with each administrator. If you go in and look at the budget sheets that Laura prepared, every note in there has been replaced to show what has changed, what is new, what is the change due to. It's a remarkable amount of work and they did an awesome job. So hopefully, well, maybe no one else is ever gonna look at every single line item. Lauren, hi, but there's a lot of good info in there, so I feel really confident about our numbers and where our money is and what we're using it for.
Oh, Karen, did you put the fuel performance comparison in the
I waited to
drive?
get a tissue and I did that.
Nice.
Yeah,
There you go.
yep.
How's your feedback been on the safety issue, on the, the
Oh.
investment there?
Great question. So we have had, I think, either 4 or 5 info sessions to date. The last one is coming up, I think, on the 20th with the Hopkinton Republicans. The feedback has been great. I will say that overall, everyone's really excited about the move towards a more secure entrance. And there have been questions throughout the course of the presentations. Well, what will the bond rate look like? And when we explain that we'll not be bonded and we'll be able to use funds on hand, then it's like, send it through.
It's free.
Yeah. But we
Included
have,
with your taxes.
we have posters everywhere. Rob had a looping voiceover at the middle high school. So when parents were there for parent-teacher conferences on Monday. I think he's been doing a really awesome job getting out there and trying to like blanket people with the knowledge of what the project is going to be. And I think our public hearing will be, I think we moved it to the first meeting in January. Yep. So, and they did a walkthrough for bids, sorry, on Monday. I think bids will be due in December, and then we'll be running through numbers from there.
The next walkthrough, do you have a date on that?
The walkthrough was this past Monday.
You're only having the one.
I think we're only doing the
Yeah.
one. I think 6 or 7
Yeah.
showed up, which is good.
I missed that. I would have gone to that.
Yeah. If we, yeah, I'll keep you posted on any other ones. Yep. Any other questions?
I do, I have a
Yes, ma'am,
question,
please.
but it's a high level question. Mr. Nato in the past has talked about how it's a heavy burden for us to carry all of our children with different needs in
Mhm.
our single town SAU. I recently learned about that there are several like sort of special ed collaboratives
Mhm.
around the state.
Mhm.
So when we outplace, do we ever take advantage of those, or are they not really, are we not in their catchment area?
We look at every single opportunity that we possibly can look at to figure out what is best for the child, what is logistically the most feasible, and what is best for us as a town who's carrying a tax rate. We will look at everything and it really works through the process. I will say, last year, we did have a couple of preliminary conversations, and I think we might have talked about, I think Rob talked about this at annual meeting. Being able, because transportation is a large driver of getting kids to the seacoast or getting them to Massachusetts or wherever they might need to go. Thinking about if we could form a local, right? If you think about the Merrimack Valley, Kearsarge, John Stark, Concord, Bow, like
Yeah.
whatever. The administrative requirement to start our own special education catchment along with the insurance requirements, and there's a lot there. I think there is interest, but there isn't necessarily a district that is saying, I will carry the torch. That said, it's something I think we continue to think about.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It makes a lot of sense for these relatively small school
Yeah, and it'd be
districts.
great for the kids to not have to spend an
An hour
hour
in the car.
in
Yeah.
a, in,
you know,
Or on the bus or.
no one wants to do that. Mhm.
Totally out of the blue, and since you guys sort of were addressing that, do we have any idea what our excess capacity is?
In the schools?
Yeah, I mean, like, within the memory of some of the people on this budget committee, that obviously the town of Dunbarton came to us looking to join the
Oh.
school system for a variety of reasons that did not work out. But there are other towns in the area that are exploring their options as well. So is that something the school board kind of has their thumb on?
I would say that as we move through the drumbeat of the annual budget process every year, it is a consistent thought. I can't speak for the entire board, but in my head of thinking about what would that look like. I don't know. We just went through the impact fee assessment, which is more looking not necessarily at whether or not if we joined towns, but if we had additional development and had to look at that. I don't know the exact amount of capacity that's in there, but it's something that's usually floating around in my head, so. Yeah,
Could I, thank you very much for the performance of on the fuels. I was kind of hoping for some prices though, what we're actually paying and what are we paying per kilowatt hour? 25 cents, 30 cents, whatever. How much we're paying for oil per gallon, how much we're paying for propane per gallon.
I know that our electricity rate is being renegotiated this year. I can ask, and if you wanted me, I could probably dig through some stuff right now, but it's probably not an effective use of everyone's time, but we can get you that information for sure. But yeah, totally. Absolutely. We did have Michelle was negotiated, I will say, I think, a incredible, from what I recall, electricity rate. She did a great job because we belong also to another collective on that, and so we came in when prices were spiking a couple of years ago or a few years ago, and it was quite low. So we'll see how we do this year.
Right. The reason of course you weren't here, but when I was talking to Rob, the reason I was asking for the electricity prices so that I could map it over
Yes,
the next few
it will,
years, how
yeah.
much it's going to go up.
Yeah.
So I just need to know what it is now. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think it took a couple minutes for this to sink into my head. These are like very extreme decreases in electricity use. What did he do? Like, can you shed any light on that? Also, will he come to my house? That's a joke, but first amazing.
It's everything. It's like all the little stuff, right? Of thinking about like, are you turning off the lights? Are you incentivizing behavior? Can you put things on switch timers?
Yeah.
What does that look like? We did move to like, it's just efficiency across the board. But he has done, I think, a really, really solid job of being really specific. And I would say that a lot of the teachers also do a really good job of being mindful of their energy consumption. He did trial, I think that at one point last year, dropping the temperature of the building by like a degree, just to see what that would do. But it's little stuff where like you need to have a learning environment that is safe for faculty and students. But to the extent you can keep the lights off when you are not in the rooms, it's great. Yeah.
You didn't do the degree, or you did?
I think we did. It wasn't necessarily long term, but it's, I mean, we've got some rooms in some of our buildings that are quite hot, and we've got some that are quite cold in some of our older wings, like 1958 over here at HMS. But yeah, he has done a lot. Our controls, I would say before that, and we talk a lot about controls with energy management in the district. I think just weren't fully optimized, and he spent a lot of time fine tuning them, and it's a skill.
So that's like literally something like thermostats on timers.
Thermostat, thinking about air handling returns. Some of this is also, thank you. Some of this is also like things were running at like full peak during, I would say, the COVID years. And so as we've moved away from COVID filtration / air return, just like, you can sort of, those use a lot of energy. So you can think about when the building's not on, you don't need to be flushing through.
And I think he replaced some like older controls too, right?
I don't know if we've replaced the controls work yet, but we've talked consistently about whether or not we should be moving to open source controls because a lot of them are proprietary and require like a pretty heavy cost allocation with them. That's something that has been on the CIP for some time, but it's a funky process. So yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Cool, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know if this is more detailed than probably usually is. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
How is the acceptance or usage of the the portable air conditioners been?
I would say that I did not hear a single thing about heat, and granted, it was a cooler fall, you know, but like, didn't hear a single thing about the 5th floor at the middle high school, which is unusual. So I think quite good.
So they just need storage in each classroom to be used whenever they need to
I
be?
think so. He might move them into some of the, like, I think that they probably go into like some of the, you know, where the old cafeteria used to be, where it's the HVAC ducts of the building now. I think they go down there, but.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Laura.
If everybody else is good, I was just gonna mention that in Laura's presentation on the salaries and benefits, something that was highlighted was that, in the new HEA contract, there was an option to opt into
Yes, thank you.
a healthcare,
Mhm.
or plan that was more cost savings for the district, and they had anticipated 5 people potentially joining, and 26 joined. And it says on the top of I have a copy of the budget sheet, that in 26, 27 healthcare and health insurance, or excuse me, 25, 26 approved was 3,974,000 and change, and proposed this year it's 3,887,000. So a reduction of $86,824.96, which is kind of shocking that a line item for health insurance is going down.
Mhm.
If you look at dental, it goes back up and gobbles it, but
Yeah.
at least the health insurance isn't going up, and that was a major plus on that presentation.
Major plus. That was our hope when we started providing a lower cost, higher deductible plan. She did say she thinks that that number will continue to shift to the lower cost plans, which would be great. And the average rate increase for next year is 1.7. So all in all, compared to some of the years we've had in recent memory with health insurance, we're netting out to a good spot. Thank you, Lauren.
And how other people are getting
Right.
really slammed with these surprise bills. So it was pretty shocking that it went down 86,000.
We'll take it.
Take it.
Tracks. Yeah. Mhm. Any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank
Do
you.
we have, I think that Rob specifically wanted me, if anyone has any feedback about the 5.06% number. Which people may or may not feel good about the 5.06
Right.
actual cash over cash increase.
I didn't know if we should speak to it because you said that the discussion on revenues hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it hasn't. I think Rob just likes feedback as we move through the process from the budget committee and wants to know. That said, obviously, we're going to be discussing revenue in December, and we'll be doing our official presentation to this group. The first meeting, I think, in January. But if people do have feedback, I know that Rob is all ears, and I'm also happy to hear anything as well.
To be continued.
Nicely done.
I would say
Yeah.
that here's a macro level economics situation that I expect, which is like people have anxiety about the stock market,
Mhm.
healthcare premiums for different individuals are going up,
Mhm.
the labor market feels squishy.
Mhm.
I believe that I anecdotally have heard of folks moving out of town.
Mhm.
And so whatever the school board can do to keep all of those factors in mind for the budgetary season is helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you going to cover any of the staffing changes in that presentation?
No, I'm happy to. There's, we have a 0.31 reduction in FTEs recommended from the administration, which is largely looking at,
Like a third of a position?
a third of a position.
Okay,
So we, as a district, we do everything in temps.
yes, I knew
So
that.
you'll see like,
Alan was once offered a 0.7.
correct, that is right. We deal in temps all the time. And we saw some things increase because we have that class of, I think, 99 freshmen that's there. So you guys
Oh,
might
yeah.
remember that we needed to add temps of social studies and English.
Yes.
There are two open IA positions there's an open IA position at the high school and something else, but it's recommended to move those to Harold Martin to help provide support across the kindergarten classrooms and do a couple other things. But overall, the current recommendation is less 0.31.
So moving the IAs to Harold Martin, is that moving forward into the following year, or is that current?
No, this would be for all of our staffing there's a couple roles that are still open, but our staffing is set for now.
Okay.
The other thing that's worth noting that actually that I think is a relevant thing is our current director of student services, Mandy, given the high out-of-district caseload that we have, spends a significant amount of her time managing out-of-district placements. We used to have an out-of-district case manager because there's quite a few meetings depending on
Sure.
where kids are, you have to go different places, et cetera. And so as one of those roles, it would be shifting some of the open positions to an out-of-district case manager to help free up some of her time so she can be doing more work across the district with our staff. And that includes that like oversight of IEP meeting process, 504s, the actual team itself. Even with that, it's still a minus 0.31 reduction.
Do the instructional assistants get their marching orders from the director of student services?
It depends on it depends. There's a few different types. Like if a kid's in an IEP, like their IEP is dictated of what is going to happen according to their educational plan. For behavioral things, there might be a building level behavior coordinator, like we currently have at Harold Martin, who can help sort of the air traffic control of how to set expectations about learned behavior and what our responses will be. But Director of Student Services does see all of that and the teams across all of the schools.
When was the out-of-district coordinator instituted?
It would be instituted next year.
Oh,
It
it
isn't
will
yet.
be. It hasn't happened.
It hasn't been yet. No.
I myself understood that.
Yeah.
Good.
And we used to have one, like Rob Nato remembers having one when he was still teaching. It just shifted, I think, and then because those numbers have been going up over the last 5 to 8 years, it's a significant time load. Yeah.
So the IA positions that are open, are those full-time positions?
Those are full-time positions.
So we have 2 positions that are not filled. So if you added those 2 to the 0.31, assuming we didn't fill them, our number of positions in the district would drop by 2.3. Or are you going to fill those 2 open positions?
Hold on, let me look. Okay.
They're getting transferred.
Yeah, they would
They're
get,
getting
they're
filled.
basically getting.
They're getting
Yeah,
moved from the high school. I have the sheet in front of me.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to look at the sheet?
Sure.
It shows it, if, I don't know, anyone can look at it. It's right there though. That's why I brought it up, because it was significant on what we're doing here.
Okay.
But there was, I believe there's
shifts.
2 high school
Yeah.
IAs that were not filled, and there's a need elsewhere for IAs, and they're moving those 2 IAs to those other locations.
Currently, they're not filled, but you're planning on filling them.
We will, in terms of this current year, we're not going to, I would say that the roles are still, I don't think that the high school one is still up. I think I was actually checking last, because we're putting out, we desperately need another one at Harold Martin. I think the Harold Martin one is still up. I don't think the high school one is still up based off of this. Yeah.
If that's not filled, is that money allocated to that? Does that get reduced out of the budget at the end of the year?
It depends. I think the hope is that, that's a good question. I think the hope is that I know we're still trying to hire for Harold Martin. And that's on the website too, I think. Or I don't know if it's on the website, Rich, but I'll check. But if it is not filled, then that money goes into unallocated, undesignated fund balance, which either can be used and moved into Article 10 or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, if anyone knows anyone who wants to be an IA, we offer full benefits. It's a great job. We would love to have people who want to come and work with our kids. So please spread the news. Just as be an IA. Anything else? Okay, well, the last thing I'd say as part of that is, I'm sorry, is that starting the year, we were still fully staffed. We were fully staffed at the middle high school and at Maple Street. I think we were down a position or two at Harold. But that has also been remarkable comparative to other districts starting the year. People have had a very hard time trying to find and keep their staff loads filled for what they were hoping to have in the buildings. And so us being able to start at close to a fully loaded district is an amazing, wonderful thing. So
Is there was a kindergartner teacher who like departed at the beginning of the year, and then there was like being temp filled. Is that person full-time hired? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Any other questions, comments for Dulcie? Thank you for joining us.
thank you for
Sub
having
A.
me.
Yes.
No Rob Nato, but I'll do my best.
It was our pleasure, although we miss Rob.
I know, everyone does.
All right, so with that conclusion, we'll open it to public comments. Does anyone in person or online want to speak? If you're online on Zoom, please raise your hand if you would like to make a statement or question.
While you're queuing that up, Matt he told me he had to excuse himself for a work thing, so that's why he
Okay.
yelled out, just let you guys know.
Is he coming back?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, please come forward. Sorry, we don't have a chair. Let me grab your chair.
Just bring them, who's got it?
Keith, fast.
Here's fine.
You win, sir.
Yes. So.
Okay. Andrea Folsom, 485 Putney Hill Road. And I'm again coming to talk to you guys about landfills, like I do when I come here. So just one caution, I heard you guys talking about perhaps not fixing the landfill cap. And all a landfill cap is there is 2 layers of basically some stuff that keeps all the trash in. And then there's a drainage system, and then there is soil and like grass and trees and stuff, not really trees on top. All that moved was like the soil, and then you have a drainage system underneath. So it's not like a cement block or anything that moved, but you have to report to DES every year about your capped landfill, and you can get fined if your landfill is not up to code. So I would not wait years to fix it. Was my
Thank you.
one, like, maybe don't wait years on that. So that's it.
Thank
I
you.
think we're already,
That's the intention.
yeah, I think we're already talking to the engineers.
Thank you very much. Anyone else
Thanks,
would like to
Andrea.
come and make a comment, question?
Anybody online?
No pressure. All right. Okay, yes.
Sorry, I have
Mostly.
some late breaking news. H&R Club did now, then so it was not an adverse effect in our oil contract for the jointly negotiated oil, so that's good. And numbers for you, Rich, I'm so sorry, is our budget numbers for next year for electricity are 200,000 kilowatt hours at a 27-cent rate. We estimated 2,000 gallons of oil.
You're going way too fast.
He writes everything down.
200,000 kilowatt hours at 27 cents.
Yep.
Yep.
2,000 gallons of oil at $3 per gallon. And again, that represents a trend away from oil. And then get ready, 15,000 gallons of propane at $2 a gallon.
Ah!
How did you do that?
Because I'm not gonna. Yeah,
The
So-
usage or the money?
Yeah.
You mean like the $3? It might actually not be that. It might be like.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
I
Yes, sir.
think- Aren't we locked in for oil for the
I
next
think
year?
oil's locked in.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I want to say that on our budget sheet, it was 2.551 or something like that. Does that sound?
Per gallon for heating oil?
And yeah.
Next year.
Okay.
So 27 cents a kilowatt hours for next year, or what we're paying now?
I think that's for what we're paying. I don't think we have that new negotiated rate yet. Sorry. Yeah, I will confirm that with you, but I think it's.
Because we're paying 25 at the farm. I can't imagine you guys are paying more.
That might be, well, then if that's the case, I had 18 cents in my head is what we were currently paying, so this might be the projected rate based off of next year, so.
These are just the projected
rates.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll stop injecting new information.
No, we like it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
great.
like it too.
All right. Well, if there's no other public comment, I will close public comment. Public comment closed. Any other business to come before the committee?
Can we talk about our schedule?
We should, yes.
Let's put a new calendar out there.
What?
Did I put the new calendar? in?
Not in the drive, I didn't see it. I was looking because I was like
Blue one?
trying to remember what we agreed upon. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hope you have fun writing your paper. Who's the fitness teacher?
That's interesting.
Ms. Centros, who's amazing.
So this would be an updated our blue calendar. Is that
Yeah.
what?
She, I think
might
she's,
be
I think
printing
she's
it.
gonna go put it in the drive.
We're putting it in the drive, yeah. But I believe what we had decided was 2 meetings in September, or sorry, December. Consistent with the prior year. All right, she is so fast. She put it in the drive, so you should be able to open it up. And that is what we have written down, which is December 10th and December 17th.
You asked for the precincts to be here on the 17th. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get that done. Our meetings are near the end of the month
Okay,
and we haven't really started that yet. So to do that in one meeting would be a real challenge.
Also, I'm pretty sure the Hopkinton Village precinct meeting is the following day. It's the 18th.
okay. So what I'm hearing is that's not going to work.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't
So,
think that would be ready.
let's confirm that the 10th will work for the town. Yay, nay?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, we'll give you everything we have at that point.
Karen, do you believe the 10th will work for the town?
I think we should be in good shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Kentucky and Hopkinton both cannot present on the 17th, then we, I think, should move them to January 14th, which is a little late, but, and that means basically like if we don't leverage the 17th for anything, that means that if the school budget gets controversial and or requires more deliberation, we're like, I mean, there is a risk of 3 meetings in January. So I just want folks to be honest about that.
So
Okay.
the precincts were on the 14th and we moved them.
I
Yeah, so
know,
move it
yes,
back.
but I did not hear when we discussed that they wouldn't be ready. No.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I don't think that.
No shade eyes at the precincts.
Given.
but-
Considering Matt's, fledgling status, I feel like we should assume that he'll be better prepared in January.
okay. Sorry, Karen, to make you change.
No.
Would,
What-
just a question, if you're not gonna utilize the 17th, would the school have an update at that point? Would it make any sense? I don't know.
I was thinking that, Lauren, and I do think that's what we did last year. I think what we did last year is we had the precincts present and we had the school
All
with like an
online.
update in the 17th. But how I'm feeling in this moment, and other folks should chime in, is that Dulcie just provided us like directionally where kind of the board is at. And unless that were to like meaningfully change in December, I don't know what more you'd be like ready to say in December versus January. Like, how useful?
Or December 10th.
It would be December
17th is an open slot all of a sudden.
Because last year, I think what we used it for, if I remember, is some of the contracts weren't done and Rob
Oh,
was able
yeah,
to kind of
messaging.
provide us like some direction on where that was headed in December, but if
Yeah.
that's not on the table this year, then.
Yeah, so look at a budget discussion and revenue presentation on the 4th.
we could be pretty directionally ready with a more net number, I would say is probably the way to say it, on the 17th. Well, well, actually, because of 17th, you said, because we will be meeting again on the 16th, so we will meet right before then. I don't know that we'll be ready to go with all of the slides for the full budget presentation.
Right.
Like, ta-da.
Yeah.
But I think that we could certainly provide like a pretty solid update by then, because I think our hope is that going into Christmas, we have a pretty solid sense of consensus and alignment on what our recommendation will be.
Mhm.
And then our hope would be that we could say, here we are.
Yeah.
And you guys could say,
Confirm it.
great, or nay.
Yeah, I mean, so we could potentially
Mhm.
have the 17th to say, to react. Like, so last year, what happened, if people recall, is there was the original presentation and we said, maybe not.
Mhm.
And then there was a week between. And so then we all came back. Like, in theory,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We haven't heard anything about potential warrants, so that would be all new information too, and I don't see a time in between now and then. Is that helpful that we would have warrants, or I don't know if the school would have those
We'll be
in
discussing,
draft?
we'll be
form.
discussing warrant recommendations. I don't know if we'll have full warrant recommendation but we will be just talking about it at the meeting on the 16th. So you'll probably get, no matter what, like a pretty fresh off the press, thank you, update. And I think that because it's a much less complex year in terms of having no contracts, like last year was really hard with the HEA and Teamsters up. So this year we should be able to get you a pretty fulsome set of data recommendations on the 17th. And I don't think Rob is gonna like skewer me for saying that, but I think it's
I promise the world and you have to
It's
deliver.
great. We'll be forever. But I think we should genuinely be in pretty good shape there. And I think part of what we're trying to work through once we have those revenue numbers is really thinking about what the total tax rate impact is with Article 2, the second warrant article, and then moving through the rest of what we would be asking for. So yes, we can have a nice update for you guys. I just cannot promise you a full set of slides.
We don't want
Yeah,
them.
that's
Terrific.
Would that be useful to folks? Like the only reason logistically to do that is if we think then that makes January go smoother.
That would be the whole point.
Also, you see how it says on January 14th, town follow-up if needed?
Right.
If there's a low hanging fruit from December 10th, we could put town follow-up on that following week. You know what I mean? If there are questions that come up that we can provide answers for the following week, it'd be more salient. They'd be like, instead of a month later.
Yes.
We could have Karen pencil in town follow-up if needed on
We'll
the
update
7th.
town follow-up.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep the 14th for.
Yeah.
Did you say school district meeting is on the 14th?
Yeah, it
Because this says the 7th.
Yeah, that's not up to date. We talked about that
The
with,
7th.
no, it's the 14th.
Okay.
We bumped it back a week.
We
so that we
changed
have.
that?
Right, so, yeah,
Okay.
That's a,
run through it again. I had
Okay.
swapped precincts with, moved them to the 14th,
Yes. So
So-
precincts back to the 14th.
back to the 14th.
December 17th will be a school update and town follow-up if needed.
Okay,
And then you can keep the 21st and the 28th of January, just like deliberations if needed.
okay.
And then apparently the 3/7 date for the school district meeting is not correct, and it is 3/14.
Yes, and we will triple check, just so everyone knows here, we will triple check that we have enough time between the public hearing and that should not be an issue.
because we're moving it further.
Giving it 7 more days that way.
That's correct. And it is, just so everyone knows, it is beneficial to have that extra week following when people get back from vacation. And that moves us a little bit further out of the sports season, which is also beneficial. All right.
Okay.
So does, if you're moving that district meeting date, one of these things that says the last day to post warrants for the annual meeting, does that date change as well? Wouldn't it on our calendar?
If the school board is moving?
If if this
Yeah.
was set 21 days or whatever that magic number is apart, last day for budget committee to deliver budget on warrant articles recommended by select and school board for posting 20 days before meeting. If we move that, does it change that to not being the last day any longer?
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
like it
you
could be
would, yeah.
later. Yeah.
Put it later.
I'm just saying that information might be incorrect on that day if that other day moved.
It would be the 14th minus 20.
I don't want to do the
But
math
yeah,
and be that.
yeah,
guy
I'm not
that
gonna do it
said
either.
That's the right day. I'm just saying we
I
should
feel
double
like
check that
mentally we
as
should
well.
just have it be the 18th.
No, but like this is something that we are making sure is tied out with our attorney, and we will cross check with Karen as the person who's running the budget committee. The schedule,
yeah.
we do not want to move things at the last minute anymore. Do not pass go again.
So our next meeting is 12:10.
Correct. And then 12/17.
But school's going on the 17th, right? That's my take home for Rob.
Yeah,
Status
update.
update.
Status update,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okey dokey.
If anyone can't make any meetings moving into the holiday season or something, just send me a reminder, send me an email so I can make sure we have quorum and everything like that. Or you'll attend over Zoom, that's fine.
Karen, can you send us out this updated calendar once it's completed? Thank you.
Any other business to come before the committee? If not, can I get a motion to, all right. Anyone want to second that?
Seconded.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.